Because that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I love it. So I was on a trip with one of our clients, Ohio State's executive MBA program through their business school, and we were searching for a place in Barcelona to watch the Ohio State football game, and we found a bar that had it. And one of the students is like, "Hey, I just met this guy, Billy. I want to introduce you. You got to meet him." And so I met Billy, and we had a conversation, and it could have easily been, "Nice to meet you. Have a good game," and moved off to our own corners. But we decided to be curious about each other, and it just, uncovered so many similarities, so many parallel paths on opposite sides of the world. That it's just a great example. And actually, I share this a lot about the power of networking, the power of just simply saying hello and allowing each other to guide the conversation. It may be, there's nothing in common and, nothing that can be had from it, but often it's the fact that that conversation and that adult beverage could lead to sharing our stories together on a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. And so one of the things that just from the very beginning to highlight it's having that curiosity, and it's, following the things that you genuinely enjoy doing, right? And this is, we're talking around sport, but you really highlighted it. Like, we could have just left it at sport and you're kind of there and you have your adult beverage and you're cheering your team on. But one of the things that struck me about you, aside from the group that you were there with, was just the first conversation that we had, and being very open and vulnerable and talking about life and family and corporate experience. And then also the passion that we have for really helping others to bring out and identify, sometimes when they can't even see it, the next version of themselves. And so, like I said, and I know I'll thank you again, but I really appreciate you, deciding to invest your time and be here with us and share more of your story. And I did it really at a I guess a 80,000 foot level. And I do appreciate you letting everybody know exactly how we met and tell them a little bit more of the story. But can you give us some of your backstory in your own words and kind of tell us what got you to this point in your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of the backstory, from humble beginnings. Grew up on a farm, and my father's family didn't normally go to college. From the Appalachian region, he was one of 11, and I was the first grandkid of all those 11 to actually graduate from school. As you think about growing up and looking at mentors and what should I do when I was a little boy? It was, more should be a carpenter, maybe a plumber, maybe a farmer, which are all very well needed, super well respected roles.
Yeah.
But I wanted something different, and I ended up going to college and becoming a pharmacist. And kind of cool. Met my wife. We rode horses for Ohio State on the equestrian team, which was something new for me. She was very accomplished. And so I graduated pharmacy school, and I always had a passion for helping others. And that carries through to what we're doing today. It's just reframing it and helping others in a different way. And we ended up moving all over the country for my job. First of all, we bought a cattle farm when we first got married, and raised cow-calf operation, and then converted it to horses. And we boarded horses, and it was my first experience in entrepreneurship, where we got a loan, we converted an operation from one thing to another, and we had customers. We had 21 customers, and we had people that worked with us there on the farm, and it was a business, and it was amazing and fun. And we lived in Oklahoma for a while she got her master's, and back to Ohio. And then my career began to take off. And what I say to folks as they're thinking about their careers is find a way to say yes. Our first reaction about, hey, will you move to a state you've never even been to before? Will you sell your place and buy a new place? Our first reaction is always no, but finding a way to say yes, I think, accelerated my opportunities and those of the family. So now we have 2 kids and who are now in college, and we ended up selling that farm, and we moved to New England. And for really the first time ever, I was considered an executive by others, right? We all have that imposter syndrome, or we don't really call ourselves that. But I went from being a pharmacist in Ohio to running 25 drugstores in Ohio and having all the business mindset that was necessary to moving to New England, where now I have $1 billion operation. I have 264 pharmacies that ranked the lowest as a group of any region in the company, especially from the customer service standpoint. My first experience at finding the root cause and putting your energy in solving for the right problem. And the team that I built there were phenomenal. I still connect with them today. They were amazing humans. And boy, what a guiding principle is surrounding yourself with great people. It's probably in the back of every business book out there, but it's not easy. And then fast forward to we relocated out to California, and taking risks, I think, is a big part of career and entrepreneurship for us today. And we had been to California. I'd been to California just once to Disneyland, right? And I thought everybody was Mickey Mouse, but they weren't. And so we said yes before we had ever explored anything. And we relocated, all four of us, out to Southern California. And now I had about a $3 billion operation. At that point, 850 locations, still just in the pharmacy. And we talk about those 14,000 associates. My mindset shift from helping patients to helping my team, give them the freedom to do what they're good at, all contributed to what I was able to do. And then received another promotion out there. And I say received another promotion. It's not that easy.
I was going to correct you. Don't worry. I was going to come back to that because I was like beep, 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 beep.
It's not like somebody shows up on your doorstep with a winning check. Here you go. A ton of work and development goes into each of these. A ton of self-focus, vulnerability, feedback, digesting feedback, implementing feedback, doing the right thing when people tell you to do the wrong thing. It's all part of being able to have those opportunities. But then I led a $6 billion operation, had the front stores, pharmacies, real estate, had dotted line real estate, HR, asset protection, compliance. For the first time in the history of the company, I was the youngest one, I think, ever, first pharmacist ever. So instead of talking about flu shots, I'm talking about gallons of milk and Christmas lights and those sorts of things. But it was always about people. And it was my first experience where I fully realized and lived the fact that leadership transcends all businesses. No matter what widgets you're moving or what your goals are, leadership principles and guidelines are the same. You're leading people towards a goal. And then, and then corporate restructures, failed mergers, drama. My role was eliminated and was given the opportunity to interview for a total company role. But I think what I think was super signature strength of mine was relationships. And those people that I knew and loved and worked hard for were no longer within the company. Yeah. So I said goodbye and I began Trusted Advice 5 years ago. It's been definitely there were some questions in the beginning. Am I on the right path? Am I still on the fence? But definitely, I wish I would have done it sooner, which I hear that from a lot of entrepreneurs. The people I've been able to help doing what I'm doing now, it's just been crazy fulfilling.
Yeah. And I love that you're feeling that fulfillment because it's something that continues to inspire you to go out and do more. Right. But so many different experiences that you've just shared with us, whether they're being personal on the family side, from moving from one coast to the other, or getting into entrepreneurship and, children along the way, to the business accomplishments. There's something that really resonates with me and with our audience, I'm sure, is you said you find a way to say yes. And I'm going to say this from a guy from Columbus, Ohio, me, yours truly, who never thought I would ever get to California. And before the time I was 26, I had the great fortune of working and traveling throughout 58 countries. And so there's a part of me that is the guy who's traveled around, and at this point it's been 90 different countries, But then there's also like the Billy that was born in, the state capital of the state of Ohio. That's like, I don't know if I'll ever get out of here. But for that person that is like, they are overthinking it and all the things that could go wrong, that finding a way to say yes, I know that you can get there. But what would you say to that person that is maybe feeling a little bit challenged with, how do I get to yes? Or you're a young parent and you've got one kid along the way and you're considering a change to go 2,000 miles away. How do you help that person?
I think it's helping them put their mindset, and I think that's where coaching comes in.
Mm.
We're designed or evolved, whichever side of the coin you're on, to be safe, right? Our brains are focused on keeping us safe, and we do a lot of work with teams in the outdoors, and the analogies you can draw are so parallel. Where that first morning after that night where they may have never slept in a tent before, we talk about the noises they've heard. And it's interesting how the brain has, forced them to not go to the restroom until the sun comes up or not get out and lose sleep. And their brain has created this giant monster, this Yeti. It goes from a mouse to a raccoon to a grizzly bear to a Yeti to whatever else their brain has said will kill you if you get out of this tent. But in reality, it was a tiny field mouse. Our fears, when we put them in perspective, are usually so much smaller than what our brain is saying they will be. Yeah. Finding a way to say yes, I think, is a principle of leadership. Problem solving, those leaders that can problem solve, that here's the problem, here's my obstacles. If I want to get there, how do I go around through under whatever direction to get there? But it's possible. And I think history favors the bold, right? And what is your vision for your life, for your family? What is the potential payout? I think it's something that has to be thought through. Obviously, don't want to just take unrealistic risks. But when we sold the farm and we moved to New England, our company was on the top 3 companies to go bankrupt. Our shares were about to be delisted from New York Stock Exchange, 22 cents a share. The other 2 companies were Blockbuster and I think Circuit City. They're no longer with us. So we took a huge risk, but it was a huge payoff. Like, not financially, but the fact that the career we were able to see so many parts of the country. Yeah. And like, my friend, you just were home, not to the state, but those people are still there. Our friends are still there. We can pick up wherever we left off at any time.
Yeah. So I love the way that you talk about that. And you said something that's really important. It's, it is a matter of how do you evaluate risk, right? When you're getting to say yes. And we know it's different for everybody, but the thing is it's about being able to find the space, find the time to realize and say, kind of what are the 2 questions? Like, what's the worst that could happen? But then also when you start realizing the other side of the coin is like, oh my gosh, what's the upside? What's the best thing that can happen? And you start to see you travel different places. And, if I wouldn't have had the opportunity in corporate to say yes, I would more than likely not been to this many countries at this point in my life, which meant that you and I would probably not be sitting here right now. So I'm kind of glad that I did get to say yes, which is great. You also mentioned one other thing, and I think this is important because as we're many times on the path of figuring out what is that voice that's calling us in our mind or maybe in our gut when we're going in our corporate career. I'm such a big fan of corporate because I gave a lot to corporate and I also received a lot from corporate as a result of, like you said, I didn't get any promotions. I earned them because I was doing a lot of work. Would I reframe it, do some of the things differently? Absolutely. And which is why you and I are here to share some of those things. But I'm just curious, before because you were very clear with us and talked about it was a corporate restructuring that gave you this opportunity to reevaluate really what you were doing. But up until that point, Rob, did you have any kind of like inkling, something in your gut that was saying, well, you know what, I could develop this business that I have going on the side a bit more. I'm enjoying the role, but I feel like I could use my skills in a different way. Was any of that happening before the restructuring happened? And if so, could you maybe talk to us a little bit about that? And if not, I've got a follow-up question.
Yeah, there was probably some that I always wished that I would have gone in business for myself. Space that I was in pharmacy, right? And at that point, I was very, very tunnel vision in pharmacy.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for an entrepreneur to open up their own pharmacy or a chain today
Right.
because of all of the healthcare drama that we deal with in the U.S.
Mm.
Um, but I loved the team. I
Yeah.
loved what we were doing. I loved our mission of helping, impacting healthcare in 850 communities
Yeah.
through these amazing, associates. And I loved it. I loved the people. I loved our patients, and I loved the people that I got to work for. And it
Mm.
was it was definitely a company. We were strapped financially, right, with a
Mm.
lot of debt.
Mm.
But boy, the people that were there were so purpose and mission driven that it was an awesome family to be part of.
Yeah. Okay. So you were probably a little bit like me. You had a business that was going on the side. You were enjoying your role. You really enjoyed the people that were working with you, that were either following or leading you. And then you're presented with this opportunity, right? Sometimes at some point, all relationships end, right? That's just the reality. And so it's how are you prepared, and what are the next steps that you're prepared to take? So you have this opportunity when you and I ask this for our audience, when you receive this opportunity, this corporate restructuring, how did that affect you? Was it one that you went through more of the emotion on the nervous side of things because you weren't really sure what to do next? Were you really hopeful? Because there's a lot of different emotions that can run through your mind or through your body when you have these different types of reorgs or restructurings that happen.
Yeah, I was I was excited.
Okay.
Pause, right? So those people that I mentors and people who guided my career and I bounced stuff off of were no longer there.
Yep.
And some of them had taken opportunities that they really enjoyed in that private equity space. And I began interviewing. So we found out probably November 2019 that our jobs were changing.
Okay.
January 2020, we found out that they were being eliminated, and here's the jobs you can interview for. And I made that decision as we were talking about where we were sourcing masks for this virus
Mm.
that was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we said goodbye, and then healthcare, the whole world was turned upside down.
Yeah.
So those jobs, those roles, I remember my last day before the going away lunch, right? I had an interview with a company.
Wow.
And my mindset was focused on that next corporate role. And then COVID hit. And, I know it was troubling financially and emotionally as well as health wise for a lot of people. We lost a lot of great people. But
Mm.
for me, it was like a great awakening. I was home and fully present with family, with myself,
Yeah.
right? When you're busy, you're going from decision to decision, to
Yeah.
meeting to meeting, to airport. You don't have a lot of time, reflective time. I've heard you talk about that on your podcast.
Mm.
But I had that time to be present and to really say, what do I want to do? And that's where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do anything. I can take all these experiences that I've had and build something for myself, somewhere I can help others and control the balance of life and family that I want to control. And that really is what catapulted me into doing my own thing.
Would you consider that was your aha moment? That was like, okay, this is it.
I think the aha moment came on a solo backpacking trip in Alaska. I call it my blank canvas moment. And I speak about this at different venues. Is during COVID, nobody was traveling. I got a plane ticket to Alaska. I do a lot of outdoor stuff, so I was on a backpacking trip by myself, and still in that corporate mindset that I'm gonna go 3 days, this many miles, hit these peaks, this many calories per day. And boy, about 2 hours deep into this backpacking trip, and I was 8 hours north of Anchorage. It was middle of nowhere. I had not seen somebody driving for 8 hours.
Wow.
And I enter into the woods, and I remember coming through. I pushed this aspen branch aside, and I became the most present in any space that I'd ever been in. Like I can still I could still smell the trees. I could still feel the warmth of the sun on my face and hear that glacial stream.
Love it.
It was like it just grabbed me by the shoulders and said, figure it out. And I didn't go any further. I
Mm.
sat there for the next 3 days on this piece of styrofoam and a blank clipboard. And I thought
Yes.
about all of the things that had led me up to this point and realized that I didn't have to follow what I call a paint by number kit, which
Mm.
meant talk to the next recruiter, interview for the next whatever executive role,
Yep.
get that job, do great things, get the next job, whatever it was. That was kind of the paint by number kit that I think a lot of us sometimes live by, fall into, where
Yeah.
society, grandma, grandpa, guidance counselors, whatever say, this is the key to success. Follow this paint by number kit and you will have happiness. At that point, I realized at this point in my life that I have a blank canvas and I can do anything I want to do and I can be the one that paints that picture and defines happiness. So that, my friend, is where it all began.
I love that, man. So that's aha. Um, so it's amazing when you create this space and you allow yourself to not just go color by number, right? I am a self-proclaimed recovering perfectionist. For so many years of my life, I colored by number. I went from one job to the next, to the next, to the next, but always overperformed, right? Because I kept moving up the org chart until I realized that my time was much more valuable than whatever promotion I was going to get, the raise, and then the post-tax implications. I was usually earning less money right up front. If you just look at it, maybe over time and the other ways, was making more, but the price per hour was less. But you go through these moments and you start to realize, okay, well, yes, this is it. Or if you have to paint by numbers, you paint by numbers. But once you start to realize that you can do other things, it's great. You also mentioned a couple of times that you had mentors in the business that were in private equity, and some of them were also, if I understood you correctly, some of them were also doing their own things. How much of an impact were those mentors that what I would call became POCs for you, proofs of concept that you could do something beyond painting by the numbers or painting by the color, and prior to your maybe moment of solitude?
Yeah, I think they were impactful. Even if they weren't doing their own thing, the mindset that they helped me create
Mm.
about leveraging all the sacrifices that we had made as a family with moving, all of the experiences that I had and achievements that we led teams through, don't let them go away. Like leverage those for your next step because that made you unique. And the ones that were doing their own thing or within private equity space that were loving what they were doing, you only know what you know. And I was with the same company for a long time. And you think every other culture is the same. You think everything else is exactly the same, or that we're even better than everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And you realize, oh my gosh, there's like, I know a thimbleful of this ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think about, because it's one of the things, if I think about what our first conversations was, there's this longevity effect, right? I was at my last corporate employer, and I was there for 16 years, and at a certain point you believe that, yeah, everything is the way that you see it. The world was as blue as they painted it on every single thing that we saw. And so, when you're anytime you're over a decade at a place, things can tend to begin to look this way. But I want to fast forward just because, like, I feel like, man, we could just talk forever, Rob. I think we're going to do like a 80-hour podcast, just the two of us. But so you talked about, like, it's been now 5 years of making positive impact, and we talked about from the very beginning, as I talked about trusted advice and the team that you continue to lead and teams that you make a positive impact on. Tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're doing today, Trusted Advice. Who are the individuals that you are serving, and just to kind of give us a bit more of a flavor of that, because I think we're starting to get to know a bit more about you now, and would love to know how you're helping others.
Yeah, I think the ideal clients that we work with are helping because we go through COVID, right? We had the Great Resignation. leadership executives have what I think is a natural executive maturation curve. So across time, so many experiences help that leader gain experience and knowledge and gut feeling, right?
Yep.
We have superseded that with so many people with early promotions that some of these vice presidents have never ran their own meeting before.
Mm.
So what they're finding themselves doing is an exorbitant amount of time is developing those that report to them that aren't quite ready. They're the right person. They got the right ingredients, but they just need a little bit more seasoning. So we come in and we help those leaders with their teams. So we will coach their entire team, give obviously confidential guidance to that leader.
Yep.
But the results and being former executives ourselves, like it's not just let's talk about the weather. It is helping that business get better through their leaders. And the companies that we get to work with, we're just a small ingredient in that beautiful chili recipe, we like to say. But they are having stronger quarters than they've had before. They're having safer environments than they've had before. And the ability to be part of that and knowing that those conversations were helping to accelerate those leaders' development, helping fill in the gaps of their gut experience, help fill in the gaps of just their leadership knowledge has helped. And the power of leadership is amazing if it's employed correctly. So we do that. We do some outdoor development stuff because we say disconnect to reconnect, and the ability to go outside and put yourself out of that comfort zone and build a fire with wet wood that's impossible, right? And then saying and having a discussion, well, what else is impossible in your life? Is that promotion really impossible? Is there a way to turn a 1% chance into a 10 to a 20 to a 50 to an 80% chance? And the revelations that people we just see on the trail are phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, and you talk and you hit on those things, and it brings to life, exactly who you're serving and the reason behind it, and also the impact that you get to see on a daily basis through leadership organizations, globally. So, a couple of things. Actually, maybe one more thing. I've maybe two more questions. So you have been able to achieve lots in your life, and both personally, professionally. I'm sure you've earned so many things that you talked about before. You didn't get the promotions, you earned them, and usually you earn them by putting in the time on one hand, and also being much more effective in the time that you're given.
Yeah.
We all have the same 168, right? The same 168 hours in a week. But one of the things that also really stood out about when we met, and the things that I continue to watch you do, is that you dedicate a large portion, or I would say a large portion, or you've consistently dedicated, it's probably the best way to say it, time to volunteering, to being able to give back in a number of different capacities. And whenever I see that, and we talk about it a lot, I always want to know, because when you're in the corporate game, sometimes you feel like you can only do that. But there's always moments when we can give back to others. We can volunteer our time, make a more positive impact. And I know you've done this across a number of different ways. I'm going to suggest that everybody go check out your LinkedIn profile, because they can see all of that. But I would love for you just to talk about that, the importance of volunteering, giving back your time, and making a direct impact on others and for others.
Yeah. You mentioned 168. Like 168 hours is, I look at it as a paycheck, right? And our old way of thinking is we spend time. Analogy of that is we invest time. How are you investing 168 hours?
Will you please just say that again? Because I'm a big believer in that. That just exactly. Can you say that one more time?
How are you investing time? Stop saying I'm spending time here. I'm spending time watching this game. How am I investing this time? Am I meeting a new guy at this bar? That's pretty awesome. How are you investing time? So, and what's the ROI of that time, right? I even do a time P&L. Like, what does that look like for you? And if you can invest that into others, oh my gosh, the fulfillment is way more than that hour meeting a month that you're attending on some board. And the imposter syndrome of so many great executives of by being a part of a board, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm ready for that. You have every executive, every leader at every level has so much to give that they don't even realize.
Mm.
All the experiences you've had with hiring people, what should a handbook look like? What are the basics of marketing? All those different things that most people do each and every day that lead or as part of organizations. These these nonprofits that are doing such great work in our world need you.
Mm.
It's so worth investing an hour of your time to help others. And you find out that just a little bit of you goes so far in a lot of these organizations. And you meet some really, really cool people with really, really cool
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate the reframe because and I'm very passionate about this. Like, how are you investing your time? You're investing here. You're investing with family, and we talked about it before. I just invested many weeks in the U.S. and being able to have that time with family was just phenomenal. So I want to keep talking to you, man. I want to keep talking to you, Rob. I'm torn, man. Like, I'm all torn up inside. No, and I know the Going Long family is like, just let him keep talking. But I do have a question for you. This is something that I think about, right? Because I've had a lot of life experiences. I thought, well, I could do no wrong because for so many years everything like happened perfectly, or probably even better than perfectly. And then there were a number of years where things were happening for me. In the beginning, I thought they were happening to me, but I realized that with reflection, that things happen for me. The moments that are the highest, they are moments. The moments that are the lowest, they are also moments too. And there's a part in every single person's journey where there is something that is an obstacle that's very, very, very important. It's just the reality. Like, you're not going to avoid it, especially when you want to be able to impact your others' lives in a positive way. And so I started realizing, like, there's this whole thing about being able to, journal things and leave yourself messages for the future, right? And so thinking about, like, if you would have been able to tell yourself back in 2005 that you'd be here in 2025 and we'd be having this conversation, and you would have already, your trusted advice team would be making so much impact, you probably been like, no, I don't know. But there's also a message that if you would have received it back in 2025, it would have helped you through those moments that were most challenging. So I want you to think about those moments that are challenging. I want you to think about your experiences. And I also want you to think about Rob 3 years from now. Rob 3 years from now is going to go through a number of different things, and he's going to need to hear a message that's going to help to pull him through. So I want you to share with me and the Going Long family here, because we're all ears.
Yeah.
What's the one message that you want to leave for Rob Mullins 3 years from now that you know he's going to need to hear?
Yeah, I do a lot of work and reflection. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of us, including me, have to overcome is forgiving ourselves, right? Because when we're reflecting and fast forward 3 years, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to take risks that everybody said were stupid, and they turned out to be stupid.
Yeah.
But we have to have the ability to forgive ourselves. And they say fail fast. I say forgive fast. What did I learn from this? And what can I implement? And I'm moving forward. I'm letting go. And I see too many times, myself included, but that we don't forgive ourselves. And then we say, oh my gosh, that didn't go well. I'll never do that again. I'll never figure out this light bulb thing. I failed, 999 times. This light bulb thing's a dumb idea. So I got to give up on this. But forgiving yourself for your failures. And, I journal, and I've journaled for maybe 15 years. And to look back on the things, 10 years ago that in my mind were super important, were super critical. Like, I have to get this done, or my career's over, or this or that, or what am I sacrificing for, all this stuff. Perspective. I would say that's the other thing in 3 years, to make sure that I've maintained perspective, kind of all the dimensions of wellness that we focus on, and making sure that I kept everything in perspective.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, I'm looking forward to our conversation 3 years from now. Rob, when you're talking about just a reminder along the way, right? Or whenever you are, if you're running on the treadmill or you're playing basketball, or you're swimming or whatever the case may be, don't forget to forgive yourself, because things don't happen perfectly all the time. It's more important to have and make progress than perfection, because that's also more realistic. So, Rob, you know what, man? I think about how quickly these conversations fly by, and this conversation in particular, and how you were talking about, just being the first grandkid to make an accomplishment, and that being formal university education. We can relate to that as well. And then being able to, not be afraid to find a way to say yes. And whether that was continuing to build your career, develop your career, build and grow your family from the right coast to the left coast, and to be able to also have the desire and the fortitude to be able to start your own business, even while you're working. You're building your own dream while you're building someone else's at the exact same time. And then when corporate gave you the gift of being able to say, well, do you want to continue on this path or select your own? Well, you know what? You trusted your advice, so to speak, to be able to say, hey, listen, you want to go out and impact others and be able to do it as the founder of your own company. Do it in the way that makes the most sense for you. And I know, because I get to talk to you all the time, so I'm very fortunate. But others that are listening, they're like, Billy, will you just ask him the question? So I'm going to ask you the question on behalf of the entire Going Long family. What's the best way for us to know more about you, find out more about your world, and also what you have going on with Trusted Advice Team?
Yeah. TrustedAdviceTeam.com. Schedule time. Find me on LinkedIn. We put out content, hopefully helpful and valuable. They're in short 1-minute bites. Connect with me there. Shoot me a message. It's been awesome. Looking forward to meeting everybody and hearing your own stories.
Yeah, awesome. Well, listen, Rob, I have one thing I want to say to the Going Long family. So as you're watching, as you're listening, Rob just made it really easy, but he's also said one thing. When you reach out to him on LinkedIn, I'm going to add something. When you reach out to Rob on LinkedIn, do yourself the favor of letting Rob know that you've already, invested time sitting, watching, listening, running on the treadmill, so that the two of you have another point in common and you can continue the conversation even more efficiently and effectively. So please let him know that you've invested the time, that you're here, and that you're proactively reaching out to make a connection with him. So, Rob, with that, man, I want to just say from the very bottom of my heart, thank you very, very much for deciding to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Billy. This is awesome. You're awesome. Your audience is awesome. So thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, everybody.